No, just keep going.
Okay. One. Hey ladies, welcome to Tuesday Tea Time. We are so glad you're joining us again. And so I've brought on a dear friend of mine, Kale Valley. Some of you guys know her. Her and her husband and family have been a part of the Living Waters community for a few years now.
Yeah.
And obviously with COVID and all that thing, like what is Living Waters community? Well, it looks so differently.
Right.
But she is a part of this family and a part of this house. And so I've gotten to know Kayla a lot, especially in the past few months. And she's just blessed my life, so much. So much. And so I was excited that she said yes to coming on and sharing a little bit of her story. And we just hope that it's something that instills faith and builds hope in your own life and your own journey with the Lord. Yeah. So I've got a few questions for you, Kayla, but then you can just jump in and share what you feel like the Lord's been putting on your heart.
Yeah.
But could you introduce yourself real quick? Like, what do you do? Tell us about your family.
Yeah. So my name's Kale Valley, and I have 2 children turning 15 and 12 soon. So that's been new, having teenagers and all that entails, which has been hard but good. And I'm a cardiac ICU nurse as my job, which I've worked really hard for and brings a lot of satisfaction to me. And I'm a wife.
And your wife.
Yeah.
How long have you guys been married?
In April, it will be 16 years.
Wow. That's amazing.
I remember when my parents were married for like 10 years and thinking, oh my gosh, that's so long, and now I'm like 16 years.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm getting old.
And you're only getting started.
Yes, really, only getting started. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yes.
So I see that you brought your journal today.
Yes.
So Kayla has an amazing story of just faith and walking with the Lord, walking in obedience, but also just surrender, not even obedience, just surrender.
Yeah.
And it's built so much faith and hope in my own life, but I've just been blown away by how you've fought for family with your kids and with your husband. And so how about you just share a little bit of that?
Yeah, okay. Well, I brought my journal because it says Whole Hearts on the front, and some of you probably have this journal, honestly.
Yeah, before we started doing moleskins, because I've only ever seen the moleskin journals.
So this was several years ago that Kim gave us these journals, and she wrote a little bit on the inside, and mine says Masterpiece and Thought Of was my journal that she put in there for me, which is really great. I wanted to bring this because it is significant for the women, and some of them have it. But I've used it, and actually there's probably a little over 2 years worth of journaling my life in here, which was a really hard season that I had walked through. And it was daily that I was pretty much daily writing and journaling in this, my story, and what I was learning along the way.
Yeah.
So, as Christina was saying, I had a season of really fighting for my family, but my fighting looked like surrender and really honestly just laying at Jesus' feet.
Yeah. Which is what fighting in the kingdom is, right? Like we sing that song about communion, like our fighting is like worshiping Jesus.
It's true.
He fights our battles.
He does fight our battles, and thank God, because I did not have the strength to. So a little of my story of this season that I'm talking about is my husband and I had a season of really hard time, and found out later that he was an alcoholic. I didn't know the extent of his alcoholism until much later in our relationship. But during that time of him kind of separating me and walking his own kind of path of destruction and being really just torn apart, in our family, and just whirlwind kind of like is what it felt like, I came awake inside of myself. I had been asleep for probably 10 years. And
Wow.
just really going through the motions of life. You know, you have
Yeah.
children, you're
Young kids.
yeah, young, you're flung into all of that, and you're, you know, in college, and you're just surviving.
Yeah.
And I was definitely in a survival type of mode for a lot of years.
Yeah.
And so when his addictions, and he kind of came to that peak of his alcoholism, I awoke and realized that I had lost myself.
Yeah.
And always walked with the Lord, love the Lord.
Yeah.
He is amazing. Without him, I could not have walked the seasons or the paths that I have walked.
Yeah.
And in the beginning of this season, and I wanted to read it to you, it's in Psalms 91, 14 through 16, and I just love this. And I would read this almost every day. You know, for those of you who have walked kind of a similar path as me, a lot of walking on eggshells with your partner when you're in this season.
Yeah.
A lot of just pain. And this empowered me daily and made me feel like someone's on my side. Somebody loves me and sees me.
Yeah.
And it says, because you have chosen to be my great lover, I have chosen to greatly protect you.
Wow.
I will set you high in a place safe and secure before my face. That was really important to me because I didn't feel safe.
Yeah.
I didn't feel secure. Everything was spinning and confusing.
Mm-hmm.
And so when I would read that my Father would set me in a high place, safe and secure before his face. So I was always seen by him. I will answer your cry for help. Thank the Lord. Because I cried a lot.
Yeah.
I will answer your cry for help every time you pray.
Wow.
And you will find and feel my presence, even in time of pressure and trouble, which I was in. I will be your glorious hero. I loved that because my husband was my everything, and now he was spinning and gone.
Yeah.
And I needed somebody to be my hero, and Jesus was my hero. The Holy Spirit was my hero. And I will give you success, which was amazing. I will give you success in the midst of all of this. You will be satisfied with a full life. And I clung to that too because I really didn't have any vision of the future. And with all that I do for you will feast your eyes on the fullness of my salvation, drinking deeply of me. Isn't that beautiful?
Wow. And what?
So that's Psalms 91, 14 through 16.
Okay. Do you remember what version that is?
I think that it's I don't.
That's
sorry.
totally fine. That's so good. And it's
It might come to me.
I love that the Lord gave you that like in the midst
Yeah.
of it. But now like, and Kayla will share a little bit more like, you know, the testimony of the Lord through the highs and lows.
Yeah.
And now like walking in victory with your family. But it's cool, the hindsight, like the significance of that passage.
Yes, and that's what I've been doing is kind of going back through this now that we're about 3 years out from it, and definitely on a new journey, a new path of healing, which has been in some ways just as hard, but it's a different hard.
Yeah.
But looking back and seeing the Lord blessing me through what scriptures that he gave me through this process, and the truths that I would hold on to through the whole process has been really cool to look through in my journal. So, so a little bit about this story is I ran to counselors. I knew that there was safety in counselors, and I'm going to read this too. So, a wise man is strong. Yes, a man of knowledge increases strength. For by wise counsel you will wage your war. That is so awesome. And I did. I waged my war. And I chose to stand and say no. With these people around me, with my community, it's so important to not isolate and hide in your bedroom and cry and say, what am I going to do? Like, find your community, find your church. Find the people around you who can stand and pray with you. For by wise counsel you will wage a war, and in a multitude of counselors there is safety. And that's Proverbs 24, 3-6. Okay. And I held on to that too. Yeah. So I went and I got people around me and who would guide me through this really difficult situation and not knowing really how to handle it. I still loved my husband very much, in spite of his behavior, in spite of his acting out. He was in a really dark place that it was not safe for me and my children at the time. And I was counseled to leave, and so we did. I had to ask him to leave, and that was super hard. I have a journal of that day, and looking back at that was really hard, but really taught me how to love well. To love myself well, to love my children well, and to love him well by setting those boundaries. And I had to really learn through that process, and what that looked like was really messy. You know, all of this was so messy through the process. Looking back, it's easier, but so.
And you, we were chatting the other week, and you said, like, one of your kids asked, like, what's the future? And you went to your room, you cried, but then you came back and you said, what'd you say?
So I sat them on the couch. You know, they were a little littler then. I sat them down and I said, you know, this is not what a healthy family looks like. What you see right now is not what will always be, is what I was trying to communicate with them. But that God has more for our future, and that we're in a really hard time right now, but we're going to have hope and trust that God has better for us. And they smiled and went and played, you know.
But it's so powerful.
I went back to the closet and cried.
But you were honest with your kids. I think so many times you want to, like, protect and shelter and, like, I'm not going to let them know about the hard things, and I'll just fight this on my own. And their spirits, like, sense it. So the fact that you addressed it, you addressed it, like, with the Lord and his perspective too, is so powerful, that you weren't trying to hide from your kids.
No, we've together, actually, Kyle and I have both been like, no, we're not going to cover this with shame, you know, and that's been really important for us through this whole process. So after that we went away for a season, and I kind of just journaled a lot. And took a leave of absence and kind of escaped the chaos of what was going on around me, and I sought refuge with some family for a while he was kind of walking his own path. So was I. Seeking healing for what I needed healing for. And we ultimately did come back together for a season with our counselors and working through things and trying, you know, always very tumultuous, but ultimately an event had occurred that was the end. And I said, you know, I think that maybe this won't work, you know. And it sent him spinning, because I've always been there, you know, for so long. And he started spinning, and I took the kids and we said no more. And he decided that night, I need to go to rehab. This isn't working. I need to get some health for myself. And his story is an amazing story. Hopefully one day he'll share. But there was no openings in our rehab facility here at the time, and God just amazingly opened the door. And as he was leaving that place, the lady comes running out and is like, do you believe in God? And he said, yeah. And she said, we just had a cancellation. You can pack your things and be here tomorrow. So he went to rehab the next day and was in there for, I think 2 months. And through that time, you know, to be honest, I was just breathing through it, you know, like, I have a safe space, and my kids, we can heal and just have safety, you know. But all through this, I was on my own journey of learning about what it looks like to love someone well.
Yeah.
And what it looks like to love myself well.
Mm-hmm.
And continually laying before God's feet, like every night.
Yeah.
You know, every single night.
Yeah.
Just so broken, so vulnerable. And I would just cry to the Holy Spirit, and he would meet me every night and hold me, and I would feel his presence, like this said, very, very strongly. And there was moments of deep healing for myself. Like, I'll share one story of, I was recalling these painful memories, just events, you know, and picturing myself in that moment. I'm sure all of us have like painful things that have happened to us, and we might revisit those. And I was revisiting that in my mind, and I remember him saying, why do you come here? And it kind of shocked me. And I was like, what do you mean? Like, it's happened to me.
Yeah.
You know? And he said, why don't you ask me to heal it?
Wow.
And I was shocked by that, because I was like, I don't know. It's almost become like an old friend to me. Like, I revisit it and see it, and it hurt, and move on. But so slowly him and I, like, just started walking through these, and I would envision what I felt and picture myself there. And sometimes it would take me longer to ask him to heal it. But every time I would say, Jesus, would you heal that? And I would turn around, and it would be like this beautiful, just wild garden of flowers.
Wow.
And before, I would just picture it like an evulsion, you know, like a cyst that's always kind of bubbling up, you know. And I would ask him, and he would heal it, and we would just walk through these memories. And to this day, I don't revisit those memories. They don't come back to me.
Yeah.
I don't sit and ponder them.
Yeah.
You know, and the Bible talks a lot about you have not because you ask not. I never asked him to.
Yeah.
It was like he was just waiting there for me to say, Daddy, would you heal this?
Yeah.
Like, this was really painful to me.
Yeah.
And, like, never wanted this to happen in my life.
Yeah.
But it did, and it was really painful. And one time I was pregnant with Austin, and it was a really painful thing that happened. And I remember asking him, what did you see? Because this is what I saw. But what did you see?
Yeah.
And he gave me such revelation.
Wow.
Into my son and who I was carrying and what was happening around me in the spiritual realm. And it was just a really powerful moment that I experienced during this time where, gosh, I could hardly breathe, you know, really difficult time. But he met me. He is so faithful and so close to the brokenhearted.
Yeah.
So
wow.
it was a really powerful experience that I had in the spiritual realm. But
that's cool.
It was really cool.
And I just love how, like, you, in the midst of hard years, like, clung to Jesus.
Oh yeah.
You know, and found friendship with him. Mm-hmm. So can you share a little bit about, like, the other side of this, like the last 3 years?
Yeah, so have been amazing.
Yeah.
Hard. Yeah. There's been hard things because we've had to relearn patterns and recognize patterns and change things and the dynamics of our relationship and being open with communication and just all the things.
Yeah.
But we've seen fulfillment of promises. We've purchased a house.
Yeah.
And then...
So backtrack. So Kyle got out of rehab.
Oh, yes.
And he's never gone back.
No.
Right?
No, 3 years sober in May. I'm very proud of him for that.
So amazing.
Yeah. And again, there's been rocky points coming out. It hasn't looked all like roses. Oh, it's so bad, huh?
No, just that little bit. You're great. You're great.
But anyway, so we have our house. Our kids are healthy and doing well, and our marriage is coming along and doing well. One little thing is Kyle left us February 11th, 2017. Was it 2017?
Okay.
We closed on our house February 11th, 2019.
Wow.
I know. And when we were closing on our house, I was like, what is significant about this date? And we were both talking about it. And it was this date that he had rented a house and left.
Wow.
So seeing that kind of come together
Yeah.
was really cool too.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I actually wrote, maybe I'll just share a little bit on the end of the last part of my journal that I wrote through this, so much more. But I said, as I sit here reflecting on my journey and the promises my father spoke to me, wow, I'm about to sign for a long-awaited dream, a home of our own, but I'm struggling. But I'm realizing my true heart's cry for all those years of dreaming for the perfect home was really my spirit man crying for a healthy marriage, healthy children, and a healthy me. And my father said, you have been on this mountain long enough. He stepped in, and in the crumbling mess, he is growing a beautiful garden and sustaining life that can't be quenched. Isaiah 43:18-19, behold, I'm doing a new thing. So that was really powerful for me to kind of go back and see, wow, I wrote that on the day of us closing on our house.
And he's really done
and
a new thing.
he is doing a new thing.
Yeah.
We're not perfect.
No.
I'm sure there'll be more rocks and stuff in the road, but we learn, we get up, we're committed to each other through his sobriety and learning to love well and to live a healthy life of freedom.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
That's amazing. I have a few questions for you that as you were just sharing, I was like, I wonder what she would say. But what through all of this, through the last 16 years of marriage, like what have you learned about God? What have you learned about yourself? And what have you learned about family?
God is faithful and always there. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. Myself, maybe that I'm stronger than I think. Sometimes that I've learned that in surrender, in true full surrender, where you are just laying at the feet of God, of Jesus, is the best place to be. The most freeing. If I could just always stay there, but usually I'm there mostly when it's hard.
Yeah.
So I'm challenging myself to try to learn to be there when it's good too.
Yeah.
Which has been hard.
Yeah.
And for my family, dreaming, learning to dream again.
Yeah.
Yeah. Having dreams for our relationship, our family, our children.
Yeah.
Opening our mind up. When you're in that much trauma, in that much turmoil, it's hard to see past the moment. So I'm learning to open up and to dream.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
That's amazing. Kayla, I just want to honor you. This is the first time Kayla's really shared this story with the public.
Yeah.
It's a Facebook group, but with people that you might not know. And so thank you so much for being willing to come here and share things that I love what you guys fight for. You're like, we're not going to live in shame. Like this is the testimony of the Lord. And so thank you for like bravely coming up and doing what few people would.
Yes, thanks for having me.
So I just appreciate your vulnerability and just the way that you've met with Jesus along this whole journey.
Yes.
So I just know that that's something that as we've hung out and I've gotten to know you, like the Lord's imparted that into me of like friendship with Jesus and the highs and the lows. But I just love you.
Love you too. Thank you.
Yeah. Is there, as we wrap up and close, is there any like final thing you would like to leave with the ladies?
I think if I left anything, and if you're going through a similar story or some kind of trauma, cling to the Lord, and He will always meet you right where you are. And it doesn't matter how messy it is, He will fix it.
Yeah.
He always will fix it and make it right.
Wow. Yeah. Choosing Jesus.
Choosing Jesus.
Over what we could reason. Like,
right, and it may
come
not
up with an
always
excuse.
look like what we think
Yeah.
it may look like,
Yeah.
but it will get better with him.
Wow, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, love you, Kayla.
Love you too.
Love you, ladies.